Alana Houston.
And I'm Tony Hubbard.
And we've been together for about 8 years.
And on this episode of Embracing Self-Love, we're going to talk about a journey to the altar. I currently serve as a contracting officer for the General Services Administration.
And I'm an inventory management specialist for the Department of the Army.
Alana is also a full-time law student. We currently live in 2 different states. Alana is here in Maryland, and I'm over in Jersey, working in Philadelphia. So we're going to express our journey to the altar, some of the challenges that we face, working full-time, going to school full-time on both ends, and living, 3 states in between the both of us. So it's not the traditional situation. And we're figuring out, we're blessed to be able to do this all at once at the same time and have some great support from our family and friends.
Thank you guys for participating on this segment of Embracing Self-Love. Coming to really talk to us and share with us what your journey has been like so far. So we're gonna start with the basics. I want to know, how did you all meet? How did the journey begin 8 years ago?
Well, it was 2008, and I was finishing up my freshman year at Rutgers University, and I had the car for the weekend. My dad brought it up, and I was kind of feeling adventurous, and I had my friends, and we were going to just hop in the car and go visit another friend we had at Montclair State University in New Jersey. So we hopped into the car. My sister was there for the week, was up visiting me at school for the weekend, so we all jumped in the car, went up to Montclair State University, and went to visit our friend. Tony was actually there with some friends of his, and our friends happened to be mutual friends. So they knew his friend knew my friend, and we ended up hanging out at the same campus party in the same dorms on campus that night. And what originally had kind of drawn me to him was the fact that he was extremely quiet and shy, which was the complete opposite of what I was used to. Usually guys were very bold, very kind of disrespectful towards me to a certain extent, and he had kind of a different demeanor about him, and that kind of drew my interest, because I was wondering why he wasn't all over me. Not to be conceited or anything, but yeah, it was an interesting night. He actually kind of struck up a conversation with my sister, my younger sister, and I was wondering what they were talking about in the corner. But yeah, my sister kind of turned to me later on that night and was like, hey, he's a nice guy. You should kind of try to get to know him a little bit more. And the rest is pretty much history. Yeah.
So we got the foundation, how you all met about 8 years ago. 8 years is a long time. So during that time, what connected y'all? What has kept y'all connected?
If I may, I think one of the things that really connected us and has kept us going is our mutual interests, our values, and some of the things that we both want. From even the day I met her, some of the things that she was telling me about herself automatically drew me to want to get to know her a little bit more. Her relationship with God, her family values, being close to her family, and her desire to want to be better, to want to aspire to greater things. And I think for me, I knew I wanted to be great. I knew I wanted to be with somebody who at some point could compliment me as much as I compliment her. And I think after we learned about each other, we've had some very difficult times. It hasn't been easy by the long shot. We haven't had the cookie cutter relationship. We've broken up, we've gotten back together. But I think even through that, we've seen that there are certain things that we appreciate in each other that we're probably not able to find in other people. So I think from day one, when we first met at Montclair, like she said before, just going through the years and making sure that we understood and we kept true to what our wants and what our values are to this day is extremely important. And through everything, we've maintained at least that. And I think that's what's most important at this point. Not, the looks, not their money, not their cars, none of that. It's just I want what I know I want, and I see this person may be able to help me maintain that and develop it a little bit more. So
Yeah, to add to that, I think that we both have a strong intuition for what the other needs, and we're willing to cater to that. I don't know, I can come home from a long day and I don't have to say anything, but he'll just take my shoes off and start rubbing my feet. Like, even if it's just the little small things, like, he did that just yesterday. And it wasn't even, it's just like it's not really like anything that I ask for, but it's just something that he just knows to do. I really appreciate the fact that he knows to do certain things that are important to me, but are not something I actually have to say. So that intuition is what I think has drawn us together too, because it makes things very easy.
That's dope. So we talked a little bit about the stuff that kept y'all connected, but now we want to like kind of scratch the surface. What are some of the challenges you faced that you had to face separately to grow together, and what are some of the challenges that y'all faced together as well?
I'm probably going to do more deeper, and then I guess you could do some surface. We faced a lot of challenging times, to be honest with you. I think there were some of the same things that we saw in ourselves or that we wanted in each other that actually became the determinant in a lot of situations on whether or not we're going to stay together. I know between 2009 and 2012, we hit a pretty hard brick wall dealing with each other that prevented us from going to the next level. Some very, very emotionally emotionally challenging things, some mentally challenging things, and some financially straining things. For myself, especially after I graduated undergrad, there were some times where I had started a company and I didn't necessarily want to get a full-time job. And as a man, when you don't have your identity, it becomes a strain on whoever you're with. And when I was looking for a job, she was trying to do whatever she could at the time to support me, but I started doing some things that wasn't necessarily beneficial for either of us, making some bad decisions for both of us. And I think that trickled over into a lot of other situations, because I honestly wasn't happy with myself. I wasn't together, I wasn't where I wanted to be, and at the time she was still in undergrad, so I made some pretty bad decisions. But then later on, closer to 2012, we honestly literally hit a brick wall where I would ask her to do certain things, she just wouldn't budge because she felt like I wasn't doing what she wanted. Just an example, and it was very superficial things, but when you start your relationship based on those values and based on things that you value, you want that to continue throughout. So I would ask her to do simple things like, hey, I'm hungry, could you please take the time to, hey, I'm hungry. And if I say I'm hungry, I'm expecting, not that it's a gender role, but I'm expecting that you're in tune with me, as Lana alluded to earlier, that you would be inclined to want to be, not to be hungry. This is an example. So it's simple things like that, but then more seriously, we got to the point where I actually literally started resenting Alana because every single time I asked her to do something out of her comfort zone, she rebelled. And I think it was the same for me because it became easy for me to revert back to my Liberian culture. What I mean by that, we tend to be very stern in our beliefs and in how we request, quote unquote, or ask for certain things. And I think by me being that way and very stern in what I expected, she as a woman, period, not even an African American woman, but as a woman, she resented that. She didn't want anybody just necessarily speaking at her rather than speaking to her. And then we got to the point where I wasn't getting through and she wasn't getting through. So we broke up. We broke up for a substantial amount of time in 2012. I think I was at the end of the road where I felt like, hey, we got together based on this. And if you're not able to fulfill that for me, and I'm clearly not able to fulfill that for you, there's no need for us to be together. And we're that strong in our beliefs where if ever either of us felt like we're not at the point where we can complete each other or we're complimenting each other anymore, we needed to be apart, and we did. We broke up. And I mean, I guess you could continue why we broke up, but for me, it was deeper than just you're pretty, you're doing well for yourself. I needed her to understand what it was to have potential to be my future wife. And the moment I saw that if I'm gonna keep arguing with you about the things that I think should be automatic with you, I guess I believe I didn't have the time for that, nor did I even want to deal with it, because if something is meant to be, you don't have to struggle through why you should do something or why you shouldn't do something, why you shouldn't reply to some random dude's text message when you call your friend. Not to get too deep, but simple things like that, and simple things like that. And, she learned how to, yeah.
You covered everything. You covered everything.
What about the surface stuff?
You already you covered the deep stuff and the surface stuff.
So we've had our issues. To say the least, we've had some serious issues, but that's what makes a relationship.
Yeah.
It's not just about the happy times.
So I think something within that's interesting, right, is oftentimes we see things and we're like, oh, we want this because it's like, it emulates success. So like, I read an article the other day and it says maybe we should start asking ourselves like, what pain do we want to feel? Like, what pain do we want to like subject ourselves to in order to make sure we have this picture that we want?
I read that article too, and I think we've gone through a lot of pain in order to get to where we are now. And I kind of, to a certain extent, I feel like those obstacles and the things that we've struggled with are actually necessary to achieve where we are right this second. If you've never gone through anything, how do you know what you can overcome later on? Like now, going into the marriage season of our lives, I think that because we've gone through the struggles and the distance and the difference in our cultures, because we've gone through that and we've seen each other at our absolute worst, it makes the marriage season not seem so daunting because we feel like we can actually get through the next big thing, whatever that is. So yeah, the struggles definitely make the success. Absolutely, the pain makes a success.
So that pain is kind of like part of the why, as into like, why was it that you were like, yeah, I'm ready for this commitment?
Absolutely. Because I mean, if with him, I grew up with him, and to a certain extent, I kind of grew into my womanhood because of him. He pulled out the woman that I am now, and at a very fast pace too. Because I mean, we've been together for 8 years, but those 4 years while we were in college were very big development and growth years for us. And then it just flourished once we were out of college. But even, I definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Man, you knew somebody that challenged you. She was the first person I've ever felt that challenged me to the point where I had to be better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't think if we hadn't gone through those trying times, that I would have felt challenged enough to want to be better, to want to not just be the traditional Tony. So, man.
Alright, so we had an opportunity to talk a bit about the pain, the suffering, the challenges, all the stuff that really laid the foundation and started to develop this level of commitment that you all have for each other. Let's talk about the proposal.
You got it.
So the proposal was something that I knew had to be special, or something that I knew had to be different, or something that I knew when she spoke about it for the rest of our lives together, that it had to stand out, not for any particular reason to be better than anybody else's, but we've always had that level of relationship where if I'm doing something for you, I need it to be meaningful for you. So it was a lot of planning, a lot of details behind it that was specific to us.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we've always maintained. Every single thing that we do is specific to us, not emulating anybody else or trying to outdo anybody else or any other couple. We do things and have always done things specific to us. So, and I knew that her proposal couldn't, and it was her. Literally every single thing that happened that day was for her. So I knew that had to be nothing different. So I mean, I guess you could give details.
Okay, so as far as the proposal is concerned, it was, I'm going to be real cliche right now. I hate being cliche, but it was a fairy tale. He took me to dinner in Philadelphia at this rooftop lounge, and the sun was setting, and it was like floor to ceiling windows, and we had amazing dinner. And he made an excuse about going outside to check on the car because y'all know parking is crazy in Philadelphia. And at the time, what I didn't know was that he was actually setting up the next phase of the night. And so when we left dinner, he paid for dinner, and then we went downstairs. There was a horse-drawn carriage waiting for us on the street. And he incorporated my favorite color into this whole event. And my favorite color is red. So he had me wear a red dress, he had a red tie, gray suit, and then the horse-drawn carriage was white and red, and the horse was white. And so we went around Rittenhouse Square and the park and downtown Philly, and we were just enjoying the time. There was a photographer that kept stalking us, but I was trying to be focused on the night. But I kept recognizing this person following us around the city, but he kept trying to avert my attention. So yeah, we ended up at the Ritz-Carlton in Philadelphia, and he made it seem like he was just doing an impromptu, I don't know, I can't explain it. You took me up to a suite, and I knew what was happening. I did not know what was happening until I saw my mother. And my mother was standing, and she was crying, and she was smiling, and everybody, our entire family was there. My mom, my dad, my sister, his whole family, his mom, his dad. People were Skyping in to be there, and it was just an awesome occasion. He had rose petals everywhere, which actually is inspired the theme of our wedding, which is the sunset. So he had these really pretty orange, red, yellow, pink rose petals all over the the suite. And yeah, it was just an amazing night. And he made it all about me. There was a violinist in the corner, champagne and hors d'oeuvres, and he made sure that everybody was taken care of for the evening for parking. No one had to stress about getting there or being there. And also, he made our families wear cream and red. And so that when we took pictures to remember the occasion, everybody had a nice little scheme. So he put so much thought into that one evening, and it was definitely one to remember.
If you're invited to the wedding, you can actually go on our website and see the video.
That'd be amazing. So I have a question though, really quickly. Usually I end and I'm like, what does embracing self-love mean to you? But I would love for you all separately, or one of you all could handle it by yourselves, but just can you define what love has meant for you, or what your definition of love has become due to your relationship?
Okay. Love and self-love, you mean?
No, just love.
Just love.
Yeah.
So love for me is selfless. And it means putting someone else's needs before your own. And it's not an easy thing to do. And most people are not able to put themselves aside long enough to experience it. But when you do, and someone does it back for you, it's an amazing thing.
For me, love is challenge. Allowing yourself to be challenged, allowing yourself to want to be challenged. I think we normally, traditionally as human beings, we always find different challenges in life, and that's normally what gets you through it. So when you start to experience a certain emotion, what we call love, you allow yourself to be challenged. You allow yourself to want to be able to push yourself to the limit that you could care for somebody unconditionally. You could, want to be there for somebody unconditionally and be that anchor no matter what. Now, I think challenging yourself to be challenged is what love is. Because at the end of the day, the looks are going to fade, your brain is going to fade. Challenges are going to come, and if you haven't challenged yourself before that time comes, you never really know how much you love, quote unquote, for someone. So.
Yeah, I think falling in love with his soul has been the key to everything. Because, like you said, the physical things fade. But what's going to keep us together is going to be what's going to keep us together is probably the deeper things other than just the physicality of things. So, yeah, self-love and challenge. That's been the key to us.
Thank you. Y'all been amazing. It's been wonderful. Thank you for sharing your experiences, opening up, talking about these rough patches and the good times.